Oh, yeah, running down a dream. I hope that's what you're doing today because, folks, I got to tell you, it's
Oh
hot.
yeah.
And I got myself in the headphones and hearing myself coming and going. Yeah, it's hot, man. That's all I got to tell you. It's hot. Africa hot. But we're keeping cool here. This is where the fun is at. So, what's up, folks? Hey, Gilbert, good to see you, my friend. You know it's hot. Cheryl, hello. Robert Scott, Chloe, what's up? Good to see you, Susan. Hello. And I think Gloria, how are you doing? I think Deborah I saw in there earlier. And welcome, everybody. It's Monday, Prosperity Monday. I hope you're getting all you need because it's there for you. Just grab it. Don't let go. And if ain't enough, get into some more. Hello, Heidi. How are you doing, my dear? Very hot in the Netherlands, too. It's all over this northern hemisphere because, folks, it's hot. I mean, wow. And it's not going away. I got to tell you, it's going to be here. Hey, Troy, what's up? Good to see you. GMA and off the hook. What's up? Good to see you. And good to see you, darling. So I have the maelstrom. How y'all doing over there in the UK? I think it's hot over there too, isn't it? DC chilling. Know what to do. Good day to you, my friend. Good to see you as well, John. Hello. It is Wayne's World here, and it feels mighty fine. That's all I got to tell you. So favors all over us. I mean, I have had the distinct knowing that favor is in action. So, hey, I'm speaking some of that action over you. That's all I got to say. And Bosto, be of service to others. And happy birthday if you got one. Lost in Space, good to see you. How are you? Jen, good to see you as well. Deborah, what's up? And Jeffrey, hello, good to see you as well. So it's Prosperity Day. That's all I got to say. It is. It's a good day. And remember, if you've conquered fear, this holds true in anything. I mean, if you beat the team, you beat them, right? You get to, hold the trophy. So remember, if you kicked fear's ass, well, now fear has got to kiss your ass. Think about that. So kick fear's ass because the natural law will make fear to kiss your ass. Hey, that's all I got to say. And remember, the highest point of being is that serenity of knowing. So, yes, yes, yes. Hey, Danny, how are you? And how's the little one? Good to see you, darling. Kiss my ass. Exactly. That's what I say. Hey, hello, Ginger. Lauren, how are you, my darling? Go. Good to see you, my friend. I fear no beer. I love that, John. I fear no beer. Although I have to say, John, I have the next day feared some beer. Lone Star beer. Man. Woof. Now that's got a unique taste. That's all I got to say about that. Hello, Melissa. Good to see you, darling. Carol, good to see you. Divine Empress. Yes, my ass looks like it's been. Woo. Yeah, I think that'll probably be a pretty good feeling, isn't it? Someone's been kissing my ass all this time. I love that. Divine Empress, that's really good. Hey, Project, what's up? Good to see you. Well, that's just funny. That's just funny. Lady Ellie, how are you? Good to see you, my dear. I'm still laughing on that one. All right, Divine Empress, none of that. The bus driver's got to stay focused. Woof. That's all I got to say. Wow. And folks, this heat wave, man, I got to tell you, it's hot. Hey, Ballot, how you doing? I know you celebrated 5555. Well, 5 is a number of change and it brings a good change. 5555. Brandon, there was a time when I was traveling and 5s were showing up everywhere. I mean, everywhere. For instance, you San Diego airport, you go in there and get a bottle of water and you look at the receipt and it has the receipt number 555. Or you come into, DIA to catch a quick meal in between flights and you sit at table 555. Yeah, it's weird stuff. I don't know. Kim, what's up? New York and New Jersey, corn heat wave starts tomorrow. Connecticut heat wave starts tomorrow. Yeah, yeah, and it's going to be prolonged. I think I just watched a number of different, channels that do the models, and woof, baby, all I got to say, woof, you know. So, eyes to see, Marie, how are you? Good to see you with me. It's 33 threes. Okay. Lady Ellie say it's 222. Interesting. Nice there in Portland, Oregon. Well, Mark, we'll send you some heat. I mean, come on in. We're all here. So, yeah. Sana Lee, good to see you. She says 777. Huh. I see 999. Yeah. Yeah, that's really interesting. Chloe, it's a lot of ones here with myself. Yeah, that in 444. It's Interready. Witchy Moon, what's up? I'm finding the wave that leads to fuzzy socks and warm cider. Yeah. Woof, I'm right there with you, man. And it's my DNA. I'm from the north. It's like, I don't know. And I lived in Texas. I can remember a couple of Christmases when it was 91. It's supposed to be 91 in Christmas. Now, maybe in Australia, somewhere down, on the other side of the world, but not here in the Northern Hemisphere. But yeah. Musgrave, what's up? So, yeah. All right. Got a lot of things to cover. So I like, and if y'all don't know this, then I don't know what you're watching. But I love doing experiments that continue to validate where my ability to manifest is at. It's real interesting because that which we're exposed to and that which you grow up with, particularly, I would say, in young adulthood through middle age, those aspects of your life, those things that begin to define your life. And, even with all the turmoil, and I mean, we're in turmoil right now. It's going to get really interesting. But I look back and, I remember the oil embargo. I remember Nixon. I remember Carter. I remember them all. The recessions, the good times. And it's like a wave. And it's those things that how you go through those that really tells who you are. So anyway, we're going to get into it. And Klaus, thank you, my friend. I tell you, folks, we've got people all over the world. And Klaus is a member of this soul tribe. Got some cool people. And Klaus, we are going to get in Castellado's book. But it's kind of cool because he is doing this. And again, there's a regular book. I got this one because it's a very cool representation of what a small book can produce. So I think that this tribe is strong enough that we can break this heat wave. I believe we can do it. So having said that, I put together, this is my E-Square book, and what I am doing is, just to let you see on the inside, so everything is here. Documentation. You see, when someone asks or emails me and says, well, how do you know that this stuff that you say is even true? Well, for them, it may not be. For me, it's as real as, the air I breathe. At least I think that's air that I'm breathing. Am I breathing? Anyway, so I started with the lab report experiment 1. I began this on 7/16 2022, Saturday, at, interestingly enough, I didn't plan this. I was just sitting here at my desk and I said, you know what? I'm going to do this. I did it before. I'm going to do it again, because repetition makes you stronger. I like working out with weights. And when you get along, which we all do, we're all aging, you've got to keep these muscles, trimmed. You got to keep them. And the only way you're going to do that is by straining them. Yeah, just the way it works. You get stronger. So 11:11 a.m. And then this experiment was for 48 hours. And the first one was the dude abides principle. And the theory is there is an invisible energy force or field of infinite possibilities, and it's yours for the asking. So the first question is, prove it, baby. Well, and that's it. Question: does the FP exist? The future potentiality. You can call it whatever you want, divine force, spark, God, whatever. And the hypothesis is this: if there's a 24/7 energy force equally available to everyone, I can access it anytime simply by paying attention. Furthermore, if I ask the force for a blessing, giving it a specific time frame and clear instructions, it'll send me a gift and say, my pleasure. So the time required is 48 hours. This is interesting because what happened was interesting. So the approach is, I hate to break it to you, FP, but folks are starting to talk. They're starting to wonder if this force is real. I mean, really, like it'd be so much skin off your chin to come down here and call off this crazy hide and seek thing you've been playing. That's what most religion is. God is playing hide and seek. You might find him, you might not. You might get your prayers answered, might not. If you don't, it's because it's you. Actually, that is a kernel of truth. There's more truth to that but they use it as a weapon. So I'm giving you exactly 48 hours to make your presence known. I want a thumbs up, a clear sign, something that cannot be written off as coincidence. So I simply did in my research notes. No need for you to know what my research notes are. I don't ask you for yours, but I did write it down here. So here's what happened. Lynn and I were due to go out to eat with friends of ours, in which I can tell you, folks, there's something wrong with the economy. Really something wrong. I mean, we were at a restaurant that normally should have been absolutely buzzing, wasn't. So we had our plans to basically bless this couple. We were going to pick up the check, and it was a check, and we were fully prepared. That's what we were going to do. It ended up that out of the blue, something happened to where we didn't end up paying for anything. Neither did the other couple. It's weird. So yeah, some strangeness. Now, that's not where it stopped. In fact, it kept on going right up until, actually this morning. So in a number of different things, we came into a windfall, unplanned, out of the blue. Not once, not twice, but thrice. Yeah. So, if any of you are struggling with it, get off the pot. Come on, get with it, because this is fun. The world out there is hurting, and it's going to be hurting a lot more for certain. That is one reality. That is one ribbon of energy, and it can't be denied. It's everywhere. But if there is a decline, nothing is saying that it's going to hinder me. The universe hasn't grown suddenly into a recession, a depression. There's just as much of abundance there was there, yesterday as there'll be there tomorrow. It's what today is counts, right? So I'm just reading that. Hey, Deborah Sloan, how are you, dear? So cheers, everybody. Go. What's up? Man, that's good. Pomegranate juice. Woo! Little tart, but holy crap. Woo! Well, you can do that one of those. You ever eaten a green persimmon? How many out there do you know what a persimmon is? But how many of you that do, have you ever ate a green one? As a kid growing up down the South, there's persimmon trees everywhere. And the initiation is that you find some unsuspecting victim, sucker, and, say, well, listen, if you really want to be a part of the group here, you got to take a bite of this. And, oh, yeah. You ever heard the expression, pucker those lips? Yeah, you got it. Good morning, Grace. How are you, dear? Love is what makes the world go round. So anyway, yeah, actually, that's some pretty good stuff, man. I mean, woo. Yeah, the cranberry juice is pretty, but you get pomegranate and whoa, you all know what it is. Yeah, Danny says it's kind of bittersweet. Yeah, it puckers you up. So, all right. Got some great emails. So, Klaus, we're going to continue this. You just inspired me I thought I was doing this by myself. And Klaus is, when he wrote me, he said, Klaus lives in Germany. How you doing, Klaus? And he came and he said, I want to just prove this thing. I want to see if isn't that what everybody is out to do? Is there really something called the force? This, I don't know, what do you want to call it? Energy? Something that's all knowing, all seeing. Does something like that really exist? Very interesting what I just saw in the background. Yes. Well, come by Thursday. My kinetic SLS system will be coming in. Far freaking out. We'll find out. Hey, Isby, what's up? Yes. So, I mean, I'm just asking the question. It's one of those things. I mean, I meditate and I talk to something. I used to define it as a personage. And, every God is merely the representation of the individual who says they believe in God. There's no one God that's the same. Can't be. It's impossible. You'd be doing the expression, get out of my head, man. And that's true. I can remember so many times sitting in the congregation. Isn't it interesting? You break that word down, Julianne, you probably could get into this. Congregation. You ever define that word, you get really freaked out. You're going, holy crap. Steiger was right. It was an initiation. No shit. It really is. But anyway, sitting there and watching people, because there was a period of time I was head of security, carried a concealed weapon, the whole bit, because here in Colorado, we take that shit seriously. I mean, yeah. So, I'm surveilling the audience, the congregation. And the thought occurred to me as I see all these people worshiping and having their eyes closed, and it's sincere. It really is. But even back then, it was beginning to dawn on me because I asked myself, am I seeing the same thing that they're seeing? Are they seeing the same thing that I'm seeing? And if we ain't seeing the same thing, then how can we be on the same thing? Because we ain't on the same thing. Y'all get it? Yeah. Hey, genetically modified darling, how you done? And that's actually Janet. You got my tongue going on that one. So, but there is something, no doubt about it. So that's why, and I've spent 20 minutes getting to this point. Yeah. Well, thank you, Eric. Legalize common sense. And remember what Miss Buttons said. That was my 5th grade teacher. How you doing, Miss Buttons? Appreciate you. Remember, an ounce of common sense will outdo a pound of book learning any day. You got people that have these parchments, these degrees, they're dumber than dirt. Oh, they're intellectually, they have a certain, aptitude. But where it comes to common sense, they just stupid. That's all I got to say. Hey, Cheryl, good to see you, darling. Thank you. Well, there you go, John Price. There's another question. Does a fart smell the same? I can tell you, having been on a plane, and if you ever have the unfortunate experience to be either having them behind you or next to you or even in front of you that happen to have a upset tummy, that's a flight from hell. That's all I got to say to you. Woo! Actually had that happen. And it doesn't matter which compartment you're in, it's all the same. That's all I got to say. Don't be that guy. That is exactly correct, Osborne. That is exactly. Don't be that person. It's whew. Okay. All right. Let's get real serious now, As I have told you, the one thing I have found about this force was the miraculous healings that take place at 35,000 feet. You become aware. It's just a matter of what your radar will perceive. But again, I always boarded first, but that was because of status. But anyway, so I watched all the people come on. The ones that got ahead of everybody else because they're carrying a cane. I've seen crutches. I've seen them pull them in with wheelchairs. And, you kind of feel bad. You go, man, I bet that person. And I never did feel bad after that because, the vast majority find healing. I don't know if they find God, if they find Jesus, if they find Satan. I don't know what it is. Maybe they just find something because when we land, all those people that needed help, because now they have to wait till the very last to get off. Them sons of bitches, they're at the front, healed. I mean, the ones in the wheelchair, they're ready to go and run a marathon. The one that had the crutches, I don't know what the hell happened to the crutches because I ain't with them when they got off. So anyway, and away we go. So we have fun here, folks. It's life. Each experience, lends itself to eventually some kind of humor down the line. Whew. Okay. Along and away we go, right? So how many of you seen the picture of Jupiter, the one with the James Webb telescope? Here, let me pull this up for us all to see. So this telescope's obviously got some dust issues, but You know, this is an interesting picture. Now watch what happens when I blow it up. You can see all the dust that's on this camera, but this is a remarkable picture. I've never seen Jupiter quite like this. And again, all these little black dots. I am thinking that's dust. I don't know. If it's not, the optics are screwed. I don't know. Because you can see there's some real artifacting taking place here. And this is some wild stuff, folks. Never seen the planet. And I have a pretty good telescope that I look at this, and you can just see that I never realized how apparently hot Jupiter is. And then over here, you actually have the moons. I don't know if this is Celis or which one this one is. But yeah, just thought I'd share that with you. I mean, wow. And you think about this now. Y'all remember, I'm old enough. I'm sure those of you who are in my generation, we remember the red dot. It was right up here. This never existed. This is no longer that storm, that one that seemed to be perpetual. There is some violent crap going on here. I mean, you can just get into this. This is some far out stuff, folks. Yeah. So anyway, thought you'd like that. I thought it was pretty cool myself. Yeah. Watching myself. Hey, Steiger, I'm the future. If you see me, you know that the future is what you think. Now, let me see. Can I actually see this? I'm seeing it. Holy crap, folks. Time travel works, and I just proved it right here. That's all I got to say. It worked. You heard me. I sent a message to myself. Yeah. Okay, a bright, shining light. Yeah, Jupiter, you know. And I often think about Jupiter, and is it diametrically opposed to Saturn? Is Jupiter and Saturn potentially at odds with one another? Don't know. Hey, Dick, what's up? Good to see you. Aphrodite, hello. Who paints the pics of Jupiter? Don't know. Don't know at all. All right. Let's continue. So if you're really like into the, this is just so cool. I'm just going to read this real quick because I'm going to be doing the next principle, experiment number 2. This is the Volkswagen Jetta. And I love the fact that we can go over this stuff a dozen times. That's all right. I don't know about you, but going through school, I mean, didn't you review what you learned that week by having a test? Isn't that how you learned, right? The teacher would start, you'd have homework. This would accumulate to where at the end of the week, we're going to see and test you to see how much you retained. And as the weeks lead into the months, as you go through that class, by the time you get to the end of the textbook, the front of the textbook is no problem. So miracles are like pimples because once you start looking for them, you find more than you ever dreamed you see. Well, maybe at a certain point in life, but all right, here's the premise. What shows up in our lives is a direct reflection of our inner thoughts and emotions, right? Right? My friend Linda told me an amazing story about a young woman she once observed at the airport. This poor young thing was struggling with 3 heavy bags. But worse than the unwieldiness of her baggage was her less than positive attitude. With great gusto, she was vocalizing her immense disgust at the lack of help. Isn't it odd that when people who do not prepare or anything and they get into these situations, they are calling out for help? Because those of us who got our shit together, we're supposed to help them, right? But, many times it's better to just let them work it out. Well, anyway, why? She kept shouting, is the bus taking so long? Where the hell is that bus? Hey, lady, I'm the bus driver. This is completely unacceptable. Whew, boy, have I heard that word so many times. Linda said she might have felt sorry for the girl, except that the very bus she was criticizing was 5 feet in front of her, with its doors wide open. Twice the bus circled, each time stopping to pick up passengers. But the irate young woman could not see it. The bus, thanks to her intense commitment to struggle and anger, was literally out of her energetic sphere. I had a weird situation happen over the weekend. Folks, if you're not in a place where you want to be, don't you be sending emails blaming everybody else for your own actions or lack thereof. If you don't like where you're at, there's only one person to blame. It's you. And let me set the record straight on something here. If anyone is casting spells, hexes, or curses, you really don't know what you're dealing with here. If someone's doing that, if someone is asinine, ignorant enough to do that, I mean, number one, they're fools. Because if there's any point in any type of materialization, manifestation, it's the boomerang effect. You do not put curses, hexes, anything of ill will on another person, regardless. Because when it ends up coming back, darling, it's going to come back to you. And the problem is the law of reciprocity. Do you know what the law of reciprocity is? If you don't, you should study it. The law of reciprocity is going to bring the hammer down on that person or any group of people that do that. You see, a curse, a hex, cannot land on an individual that, number one, knows who and what they are. Even more so, has what we would call this protection. You see, innocence. If you inflict harm upon the innocent, you're messed up, man. Your life is probably one miserable place. You're probably always in a tailspin, always someone else. You're probably gossiping about everyone else. And then you want to cry and say, well, and you're doing this other nonsense on other people. It don't work. And as I told the individual, grow up. Start taking responsibility for yourself. No one can put a curse on you unless you allow it. Now, bad shit can come your way and it can do everything else. And it may be because of someone else's ill will towards you. But once you become aware of it, the effect, you can turn that around and send that power right back down. And it's going to knock and short circuit them out. Someone needs to hear that. That's all I got to say. So take responsibility. Don't be looking at other people to blame for your misfortune. Grow a pair. Put on the big boy pants and start becoming a master. You got two choices in life. You can either be the victim or you can be victorious. Now, some people say, well, I'll volunteer. Why? When you have the ability to be the conqueror. Time to get serious about this, folks. Shortages are here. Now, the difference is the universe going to make sure that you are amply supplied? Do you find that where the other area of drought around you, that in your neighborhood, like, the last 3 days, we got 3/10 of inches of rain? Well, I happen to consider that a sign. Anyway, Pam goes on to say, that's why I named this principle. By the way, Pam is a single mom. Get the book. And I do have the PDF if you can afford it, because if you'll read the book, you'll be able to afford the book. But she's a single mom, author, world traveler, multimillionaire, and didn't start out with anything but understanding a belief. And there's another woman who I know discovered this principle. She discovered it in a different vein, but it was one Gloria Copeland. She just happened to see, reading in the book of John and Matthew, where she didn't need to be broke. She didn't need to be poor. She didn't need to be in poverty. She didn't need to be hungry. Now, she plugged into this. I knew another woman personally, helped her in the beginning of her ministry and many, many years ago. Joyce Myers, multimillionaire, started out with nothing, but they found something. And it's the same principle here. I mean, maybe a lot, you don't want to be a millionaire. That's cool. Money has its own burdens tied to it. But, let me just say this. The richest person in the world is the one that is debt-free, that owes no debt, owes nothing to anyone. That is wealth. That is riches beyond imagination. If you're debt-free, you're the freest person that's out there. Do you know what men and women throughout the ages have paid with their lives for just the hope to be debt-free, to owe no man anything but to love them? Think about it. Anyway, she said, that's why I named the principle after the popular car model of a car. Once a new model or make or brand enters your sphere of awareness, you suddenly notice it everywhere. And that's what happened when we devote our minds to things we do not want. Lack, unhappiness, and danger are no more prevalent than a Volkswagen Jetta. But once we bring them into our consciousness, they sadly take over. Don't we know that? Look what this group has gone through. Look at some of the mind games that have gone through. Holy crap, Pat, man. I mean, we're all freaking champions here. When Queen wrote the song, we are the champions of the world. Us. Yeah, it's true. According to physicists, there's a 0-point field, what Pam calls the field of potentiality, or the FP, where every possibility exists. For example, there's the possibility you could be a ballerina, another that you could be a U.S. senator. Still another possibility is being a bag lady in Hyde-Ashbury. When it comes to the FP, the possibilities are infinite. Since I'm not a physicist and can barely pronounce the name David Bohm, let alone understand his theory of layered reality, string theory, I prefer to think of the field as a gigantic Walmart with hundreds of thousands of products or possibilities. This is probably a good time to mention that I'm not a fan of Walmart, that I have never quite been able to forgive the corporate giant for ruining my favorite corner pharmacy and fabric store. That's what Walmart did. Sam Walton knew what he was doing. It was part of Americana, I worked in Clinton, Tennessee, and they actually had the countertop pharmacy. You walk in, and it was like their little drugstore, but over off on to the right as you walked in, there was a little diner, and you could still get real cherry Coke. Y'all know the ones I'm talking about, where they put the cherry in there and then you put the Coke in. Oh, yeah. And the hamburgers always seem to be better in those joints. I don't know. Maybe maybe. Anyway, she says, but as a single mom on a budget, I do occasionally lower myself to shop there. And when I do, I know just where to find the fabric, the puzzles, the kids' shoes, all the things I've been known to purchase. But I'm completely oblivious to most of the hundreds of thousands of products on the shelves. Why? Because they're not what I'm looking for. That doesn't mean they're not there. Doesn't mean they're not as real as the puzzles and the shoes. It just means I'm not aware of them. For example, my daughter once came home from school with head lice. After panicking and briefly considering throwing myself off the nearest bridge, I finally concluded I would provide a much better parental example by going in search of lice shampoo. Sure enough, on the aisle at Walmart, I'd walked down dozens, probably hundreds of times, was a complete section of lice shampoo. Why I had never noticed it before? Because it wasn't what I was looking for. I had the same experience yesterday. I was looking for tortilla shells, and I wasn't, in the store that I knew that well. I walked past it twice. There you go. A few years ago, a sweepstake agency gave away 100 free trips to anywhere winners wanted to go. That meant lucky winners could fly to Paris to see the Eiffel Tower, or jet to Australia and climb the Ayers Rocks, or lounge on the beach in the Caribbean islands. And you want to know what? 95% of the winners picked a destination, you get this, within 4 hours of their home. 4 hours. Pretty much sums up the human condition. So much is out there, but most of us choose to stay within 4 hours of our comfort zone. We refuse to budge, even when there's ample evidence we're missing out on big things. Without being truly conscious of it, we spend the lion's share of our waking hours immersed in the comfort zone of negativity. How many people are masters at cursing themselves, cursing their kids, cursing their loved ones, their mate, their partner, cursing their bank accounts, cursing their job? They want to know why things are so cursed. The pull of negative is so strong that many of us navigate our entire days jumping from one depressing thought to another. I don't believe that happens here. I overslept again. The war is unconscionable. The economy is in shambles. Gas is expensive. My boss, my kids, yada, 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 are driving me crazy. Negativity and fear start the minute we're born. It's a scary world out there, Jimmy. Don't you dare talk to strangers. Don't you dare sing that silly song at the grocery store. Someone might hear you. They call me the singer, Yeah. And it's true. Man, people are good at cursing themselves. And, I guess that's why I thrived as an entrepreneur. Got burnt. Bet your ass I have. But I learned a long time ago, I'd rather walk the tightrope with no safety net than to always think that if I fail, there's something there that's going to catch me. It certainly gives you initiative, doesn't it? When it's all hanging out there. Yeah, exactly. We learn to limit. We learn to believe in scarcity. We learn that our natural inclination to love and to create and to dance is impractical and crazy. Our parents think it's their sworn duty to teach us to be careful, to be responsible, to act like adults. How are adults supposed to act? I mean, that's one of those questions I often wonder. They say, well, why don't you grow up and act like an adult? Exactly how does an adult act? I'm not even sure how a kid acts, but I can't figure that one all the way out. Just saying. It's true. And if for some reason we're lucky enough to get parents who don't dispense these lessons, our culture quickly indoctrinates us into believing that collecting material things is our purpose in life, and that the only way to get those goodies is to put out our proverbial nose to the grindstone. By the time we're in grade school, we're already masters at competition, old pros at living in scarcity and fear. I think that's one of the things about growing up on the street as a teenager. I never had the fear. I was never in fear of going hungry. Really wasn't in fear of not having a roof over my head, even when I didn't. It's these small blessings that we find out, blessings, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. But guess what? As Pam writes, it's all a big ruse, a bad habit. As A Course in Miracles clearly states, once you develop a thought system of any kind, you live by it and teach it. Once you form a belief, you attach all your senses and all your life to its survival. Whoa. Physicists call this phenomenon the collapse of the wave. Infinite numbers of quantum particles are out in the universal field dancing around, spreading out in waves. The moment someone looks at these energy waves, they solidify like gelatin in the refrigerator. Your observing is what makes them appear solid, real, and material. And just to show you on this experiment, Heidi, I know you can relate to this, dear. I mean, if you close your eyes and if you hold your hands and imagine that your hands are emanating your energy, your particular wave. Now, if you have that energy and now you form, and how I do it, I always like to form this in my mind's eye, whatever it is that I'm believing for. And we're always believing for something. You never stop believing. And once I can manifest it, once I can solidify it within my mind, it's going to come to pass. It can be delayed. It can be, momentarily sidestepped, but it will come to pass. And the more something tries to resist it from coming to pass, there's an eventual force that builds up from it it blows it away, that force that was trying to resist it. And that can be people in your life. True. Remember in Disney Snow White, when she was lying in the forest floor crying, she feels as if all these eyes are staring at her. And indeed, dozens of forest creatures are skirting and scampering about. But the moment she raises her head to look, all the cute little birds, squirrels, and deer dive behind trees. All she can see is a solid, unmoving forest. In reality, our universe is moving, scampering energy fields with infinite possibilities, but because our eyes have locked in on a problem mode, that's what appears to be our reality. You will not break loose until you realize that you yourself forged the chains that bind you. Now, due to time, I'm going to continue to push forward on this as we get down here, because I want to get into the experiment. So, in 1970, Colin Blackmore and G.F. Cooper, scientists at Cambridge University, did a fascinating experiment with kittens. This must have been before animal rights activists got vocal, because what they did was to take a litter of kittens and deprive them of light, except for once a day, for just an hour or two, when the scientists beamed in just enough light for the kittens to see a couple of vertical black and white stripes. That's it. A couple of hours, a couple of stripes. Now, I don't know whether their consciousness finally got the better of them or whether some PETA-type predecessor started breathing down their necks, but after several months, they released the kittens from the dark. What they discovered was the kittens' cortical cells, cells in the eyeballs, for those of you who aren't scientifically minded, that favored non-vertical orientation had gone into hibernation. They could no longer make out horizontal lines. They literally bumped into horizontal ropes that were stretched out in front of them. Wow. 1961, the anthropologist Colin Turnbull studied pygmies. He took one of his subjects outside of the forest where he lived. Since he had never been exposed to wide open plains, the pygmy's sense of death did the same disappearing act as the kitten's cortical cells. Turnbull pointed out a herd of buffalo in the distance, and the pygmy, whose depth perception was distorted, refused to believe it. It has to be ants, he insisted. His perceptions were influenced by what he had been conditioned to see. As thinking beings, we continually try to make sense of our world. Sounds like a good thing, right? Except that any piece of information that doesn't quite fit with our beliefs, we alter without even noticing it. We knead and squeeze until everything finally fits into the tight box of our limited belief systems. We think what we perceive with our senses is true, but the fact that I will keep banging you over the head with this, it's only half, it is only 1/2 of 1/1,000,000th of a percent of what is possible. Did you get that? It is only 1/2 of 1/1,000,000th of a percent of what is possible. When we think what we perceive with our senses isn't true, it becomes reality. At the base of the brain, about the size of a gumdrop, is a group of cells whose job is to sort and evaluate incoming data. This control center, known as the reticular activating system, the ROS, has the job of sending what it thinks is urgent to the active part of the brain and to steer the non-urgent stuff to the back. But as it's organizing, it is also busy interpreting, drawing inferences, filtering out anything that doesn't jibe with what we believe. In other words, we rehearse ahead of time the world we want to see. Too bad we all pick up on the wrong script. This simple 48-hour experiment will prove what you see in life is none other than what you look for. It will also prove that it's possible to find anything you look for. And most important, it will prove that by changing what you look for, you can radically change what shows up in your world. All right, so you've probably heard of Peter and Ellen Caddy, but I'll bet the name Feinhorn rings a bell. Remember the garden in Scotland that yielded cabbages big enough to knock over a postal truck? Well, Peter and Ellen, Caddy, were the folks who grew these 40-pound cabbages. Keep in mind, the average cabbage is 4 pounds, 5 ounces. They did it by focusing their thoughts on higher truth. Imagine, and you should go back and check this out, get the book or the PDF. They have the pictures. This was not just a single cabbage. It was the whole freaking crop. They certainly didn't have anything else going for them. In fact, when Caddy, their 3 sons, and fellow spiritual seeker Dorothy McLean moved into their trailer on that wind-blowing peninsula just out into the North Sea, the land could best be described as dead and profitless. Nobody in their right mind would have chosen it as a spot to grow anything, let alone a garden. The soil, if you could call it that, consisted of rock and sand. The gales were strong enough to knock over the average second grader, and their less than better homes locale was a smack dab between the garbage dump and a dilapidated garage. But by focusing on the higher truth, they created a garden that can only be described as miraculous. Although it was the 40-pound cabbages that got all the publicity, the caddies also grew 65 other types of vegetables, 21 kinds of fruit, and 42 different herbs. And this is before they started adding flowers. I know what you're thinking, rich compost and good organic husbandry. But the truth is the caddy soil was so pathetic that the county extension agent said even compost couldn't help. At the time they started their experiment in higher consciousness, the caddies had never gardened, nor did they have money to invest in gardening supplies. They were broke, to put it mildly. Peter, who had managed a successful 4-star hotel, had been laid off, and the 6 of them were living on unemployment that amounted to roughly $20 a week. No, they started growing vegetables for one reason. They thought it might be a nice gesture to feed their 3 growing boys. But as they began aligning their consciousness with spiritual truth and nothing else, all sorts of strange things started happening. Straw bales fell off passing trucks just in time to mulch. Leftover bags of cement mix mysteriously showed up in a neighbor's trash bin just in time to pour a patio. Their plants, while the crops of their neighbors suffered, became resistant to disease and pest. Eventually, people started flocking to the caddy's garden, and today Feinhorn is a prosperous spiritual community that attracts 14,000 seekers each year. Don't see any of us doing that. Although I know some of you have some phenomenal gardens, and it's maybe why. As Peter says, you can bring about anything by your thoughts. Align yourself with God's consciousness, and you can bring about the truth in material form. What you think, you create. There is no power on earth that can cut you off from this source except your own consciousness. Everything we think we're seeing is all just a guess, a prediction our brains are making. So in the next 48 hours, that's all a pain-free 2-day commitment. You are free to go back to your miserable life as soon as this experiment is over. You are going to actively look for certain things. And just like 6th graders who start out dissecting worms, not human bodies, you're going to begin with something simple. Green cars, or if you insist, pick another color. Sunset beige, for example. For the first 24 hours of the experiment, you're going to make the following conscious intention. I hereby intend for the next day of my life to look for, okay, you win, sunset vehicles, blue vehicles, red vehicles, whatever. But make it something that you haven't seen that much of. Again, nothing special is required. Just keep your eyes open and make the intention. And then simply notice if your conscious awareness has made a difference in the number of sunset beige blue cars that you see. On day 2, during the second 24-hour period, you're going to make the intention to find yellow butterflies or purple feathers or white feathers. Just make the intention. My friend Jeanette tried the experiment in January in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan and found yellow butterflies on stationery and on a paper cup at her daughter's friend's birthday cup. Another friend, Angela, was reading The Secret on the plane. This popular book on the universal law of attraction suggested the readers make the intention to receive a free cup of coffee. She laughed because, after all, the onboard flight attendant was just 2 aisles away from asking her that important flight attendant question, coffee, tea, or soda. Isn't that quite far? She noted. That isn't quite fair, she noted, making the intention and moving on to the next paragraph. But during her layover, a stranger who was sitting near her in the waiting lounge leaned over and said, "My flight just called. I can't carry anything. I haven't even taken a sip. Do you want this?" You guessed it. It was a just brewed Starbucks latte. So here it is. Volkswagen, print this thing off, do it like I do, do whatever you want to do, but proof is in the pudding. Theory, you impact the field and draw from it according to your beliefs and expectations. Question, do I really see only what I expect to see? Here's the hypothesis. If I decide to look for sunset cars, beige cars, or butterflies or purple feathers, whatever that it is, I will find them. Time required, 48 hours, put the date. And then you have the approach. According to this crazy Pam Grout girl, the world out there reflects what I want to see. She says that it is nothing but my own illusions that keep me from experiencing peace, joy, love. So even though I suspect she's a crackpot, today I'm going to look for sunset beige cars. Tomorrow, I'm going butterfly hunting. All right. This is fun. You know, when you're not worrying about where the money's going to come from to pay for the bills, the food, and what have you, you really are a much more freer person to be. If you got children, they'll love you more. They'll see it. So I hope you just try this. I am. And what a great way. We do these group experiments here all the time. This is a cool one. And I think that if we put our intention right now, all of us, whoever, there's 205 of us, if we all 205 put our intention right now to break this heat, I bet you we can make the national headlines. This prolonged heat wave, which is forecast to go for the next 15 plus days, I believe this group can impact it and make it dissipate within a couple of days. The only thing was that no one, okay. All right, everyone. I love you, man. Love is what makes the world go around. And even though we hit some rough patches, it's all right. Just makes us stronger. I mean, it's the idiom is true. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? Lost in space, you're welcome. Love you, baby. I mean, prosperity. You know, Isby is a good example of someone who has found prosperity. There's Lucky Space. I can think a number of people. So thank you, Lost in Space. I think it's cool. Intention will dissipate it with love. Lady Ellie, you are right on. That's beautiful. That is just, hey, Leslie Long, good to see you. We can change this world, man. Heidi Love, how are you, dear? Well, it is much reciprocated, Heidi. Much love to you as well. You give me that edifying, you know. You lift me up. Wasn't that song? Who sang that song? You lift me up. I'm seeing the guy right now. Who sang that song? All right, maybe it's just me. Genetically modified. Thank you, darling. See, I got it right this time. Yeah. Brandy, you're a fine girl. Good to see you. All right, folks. Now, I'll see you tomorrow. Join Klaus and me as we continue down with Pam Grout's experiments. You see, I got a specific thing, and it's taking each day. See, I used to be a drywall finisher way back. And I was a master class drywall finisher. It was an art. And I was so good at it that I could tape a seam that once painted, you would never know where that seam was at. But I didn't get that way overnight. In fact, if you can see my finger is permanently bent because the way that I would hold the blade and you're putting on the compound. But it taught me something, that if I want something really big, it'll happen. I just sometimes have to build upon layer, and it'll get there. All right. Thank you all. Have yourselves a fabulous day. Join us tomorrow with Miss Trina. We're going to be having some fun on that one. Oh, yeah, I guarantee it. It is an art, Brandy. It is. It truly is. You know why I left it? I got bored. but it's where it taught me, you do a lot of meditating. It's amazing, but anyway, Isby, right back at you, brother. All right. We are the Rainmakers. Yeah, I like that, Danny. Where's your Rainmakers? That's really good. Danny, that would be a great t-shirt. Anyway, all right, folks, thank you for hitting the thumbs up. Have yourselves a fabulous day, and we'll all get together on the same vibe tomorrow. All right.